And we're live. Look at that. Let's get our beautiful selves framed up here. There we go. All right, and any second will show up on Instagram. Hello. Hi, everybody. We are here for another amazing rendition of Book of the Month Club. Let me just make sure we're actually going live on Instagram because I don't see the notification, and that's a big part of this. All right, what's going on over here? Checking connection. Perfect. So we're live on Facebook and YouTube. So hello, the one or maybe two people that are checking in there. And now we are live.
Nice.
Okay, hello, Instagram. We are here for another rousing rendition of Book of the Month Club. This time the September edition is featuring the girl from H.O.P.P.E.R.Sl, which is, hey, there I am.
We are here for another rousing rendition
A couple of them, actually.
Book of the Month Club. This time the September edition is
Hey, just letting
featuring
you get this volume turned
the
down.
girl from H.O.P.P.E.R.Sl, which is, hey, there
I
I
would
am.
love to turn this volume down. There we go. Okay, and we're back. So yes, this is a Love and Rockets book, which means something to some people. We've got Waggly Dragons. Ian Youngs is here. Hello. Hey, Ian. H.O.P.P.E.R.Sl Comics as well. But yes, this is Love and Rockets. This is actually, Justin, I'm going to have you explain it because I'm still learning myself.
Yeah, it's a long-running comic book series from the 80s. It's done by two brothers, and we're talking about stories from one half of those brothers. Well, sometimes it's three brothers. I won't confuse you with that. We're already going down too many rabbit holes.
Yeah.
We're talking Jaime Hernandez's Girl from Hoppers and his Maggie and Hopi story. So we're in punk rock scene, we're in love, and we're in rockets.
Is there a time frame, or is it purposely ambiguous?
I would say the unique thing about Love and Rockets, and this goes across both brothers, is that it ages in real time with you. So when you start these books, Maggie and Hopi are in like their 20s, maybe like late teens, and today they're in their 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
So I'd say this is the year they're published in. So you're kind of in the mid 80s, super of their time.
It is kind of tough to say in a brief sentence what the book's about. The book is about a lot of lives and a lot of stories, sort of affecting each other, all centered around, I would say, Maggie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Also, real quick, spoiler alert: we're going to be talking about the book, so that means we'll talk about things that are in the book. So sorry about that, but yes. So Maggie is a main character, probably the central point of this. And she has some relationships, both familial and interpersonal friendship relationships. We sort of see just how, I guess, complicated a life can be. When I think one of my favorite parts about this is you not only are following Maggie, but it's not told from Maggie's perspective. So you do get to see how other people think and feel, and the narrator is omnipotent. So you get to hear other people's thoughts too, but you get to see one person you see maybe in one panel has one interaction with the main character, and they both come out thinking completely different things and behaving differently because of it. And these stories, I think, really show the ripple effect that people have on each other's lives, I guess.
It's a big old soap opera.
Yeah, Absolutely.
X is in love with Y, who's in love with X, who used to love Y and hates X because of Z.
Yeah.
For my money, it's one of the best ones to ever do this. It's Chris Claremont's X-Men, and it's this stuff for the 80s. These are relationships defined by absence and defined by longing and defined by location, and you have kind of Jaime Hernandez zooming you through all these little different periods and points where we're hanging out with wrestlers, and we're on hovercrafts for a little bit, and we're at punk rock shows, and we're with a superhero and a guy with devil horns.
But none of it feels unreal.
Yeah.
It's all so grounded.
But we're in a world of comics where people get big old exclamation points.
Yeah.
And
their faces turn into devils when they're really angry.
Yeah, and they have lovelorn puppy dog eyes. And there's also tremendous loss and sadness and death and beauty and romance. It's just, there's nothing like it.
So we should say, reading through it, if you haven't ever checked out Love and Rockets or you haven't ever checked out The Girl from Hoppers, it is definitely a unique experience the way the story is presented. It feels very much like you're reading a collection of Sunday comic strips because each story is isolated yet plays into the grand scheme of things. So longtime readers will pick up new things each time they get to a new story and build on this world. But if it's the first time you picked one up, you're just looking at people doing things, and it's enamoring. It's you love seeing because it's all so real and yet fantastical. But yeah, so Love and Rockets, Justin, you've got some really cool sort of visual aids here.
Yeah. So this is the very first issue that was officially published. They self-published, the two brothers, the Hernandez brothers, self-published their own little comic and sent it to fledgling comic company Fantagraphics. They read it, they take a chance on it, and they publish it. And so you can kind of see the characters that would eventually grow into sort of their more grown-up versions. So right here you have Maggie, and you have, I think that's supposed to be either Penny Century or Izzy or maybe even H.O.P.P.E.R.Sl, but they're in their kind of early forms. And then as the book grows and gets on and on and on, they develop and they grow up with you.
I'll hold this one.
Yeah.
So yeah, so when it's first presented, and Justin was saying in the originals, the stories were much more high fantasy, robots, action.
There's dinosaurs.
And as they progressed, they sort of refined into, so they started, we can show here, very like Usual Suspects. Look at these space people and superheroes and action, pulpy. But then when the story's collected and they know what it is and what the story is, you see people.
It's humans with clothes and character defined by those clothes.
And when you know these relationships, you know that this is years of turmoil and love and hate just in these four characters, and these aren't the only four characters in it. Like it's you'll see somebody. I was talking to Justin earlier about one of my favorite parts in this is something I didn't realize until it was over. One of the big characters in the first couple of stories. So there's how many in this? Like 15?
Yeah, it bounces.
So yeah, you'll look through the index, and there's something like 20 different stories. In the first 5, we'll say you're following this team, this company of wrestlers, of professional wrestlers, and you're learning about these people, these relationships, who had the title, who lost the title, but it never, first of all, never feels like exposition, which I think is amazing. I'm always a hound for that. I'm looking for spoon-feeding exposition because I think it's hilarious. Never felt like that in this. You learn about the characters in things you overhear two characters saying, and then you go, what? Wait, there was some championship battle that someone cheated at? 5 stories later, they'll call back to it and say, man, I didn't cheat. This is what happened. And then you're building the story as it goes, sort of piece by piece, like pointillism, and you don't get the entire picture until you finish it and look back at this world. But the point I was bringing up, one of the main characters in the beginning is Reina. Titanyon, who is an amazing wrestler, and you see her go through several matches. You see her hopes, her dreams, and then the last time you see her, it is her having like a grudge match against the old champion, and they have this fight. They're saying, oh, she's probably too old, and he's like, no, she beat the crap out of me before, so she's not too old. They get this, and just, oh man, sorry, I keep going off on tangents, but you're following this
like, I'm gonna die in the ring.
Yes,
never wake up.
These characters you see for a moment, but they tell you this history, this world. The big fighter, big head honcho, is calling out the old pro. The old pro comes out of retirement for one last match so they can squash their beef and see who's the best. Young Buck beats the old pro, and then when they're in the dressing room afterwards, the young pro comes up and says, hey, you know what? I need you to say it. Say I beat you. Say this is done. Say there's no more beef. She goes, I don't need this. I was like you once. I was exactly where you are. I called out the great big bad, fought them. I won. And then they said, what is it?
You killed me tonight, Titanian. I'm dead. I'm deader than dead. You took the last spark of life from this body, but that's okay. I ain't sore at you. I did the same thing to Vivian Castelli 35 years ago. And she gave me the same speech I'm giving you. You know what she did after that? She laid herself down on a cot and went to sleep and never woke up. And so we see one of Maggie's family members say this, And these words reflect into Maggie: never wake up, never wake up, never wake up.
They're flooding around her head like Squidward and All Alone.
And this is only the first 37 pages, and yet that sentiment, those feelings, that wrestling match just keeps dancing in the back of Maggie's head. And it's something she never really lets go.
Yeah, and you never see her again. She never shows up in the and the old pro who said that to her laid down at the end of that, and then it popped, and you know she never woke up, and you know that this is just an unending cycle. But this is, like Justin said, this is the first 37 pages, and we don't see these characters ever again, but they left us with this echo of here's this entire world, here's this lineage, this decades, generations of storytelling and of life and of living that Jaime is just going to mention, just going to sort of show you a window in and say, yeah, this world's happening, but we're going to move on. We're going to go on to this story. And then you hear talk of Reina again 10 stories later and mentioned that, because her niece, it is her niece. Yeah. So her niece mentioned she gets her boots. So, she's still out there, she's still wrestling, which means that she's just continuing to barrel down towards that end. And it's almost like she's punishing herself because she blames herself for the death of Bull Marie.
Yeah.
So she blames herself for this, and she knows, well, if that's my prophecy, I deserve it. I killed this woman. I killed her spirit, and then her body gave up. So that's what I'm destined for. So she's still wrestling, which sounds fun, but that she's still hurting. That she's still barreling towards this inevitable end, and she feels stuck in this world. But it doesn't matter because that's the beginning. We're moving on. We're following. We're getting into gang turf wars. Very Romeo and Juliet. We're getting into.
You were mentioning how he'll give you a major piece of information, but kind of obscure it or obfuscate it.
It doesn't seem important until 50 pages later.
I would say the stalwart example of this is the story of the death of Speedy, which is probably the famous one in here. We're thrown in the middle of this gang war between the Hoppers gang and is it the Dairy Town?
The Dairy Town, like the neighboring towns, just some arbitrary two groups of young kids with nothing to do have formed gangs, and now there's unnecessary turf war.
We follow Speedy, who has this long crush on Maggie, but has never been able to show it, never been able to be intimate in that way and give himself away. And we're talking about kind of careening on these endless cycles. Jaime gives it away in the title. Speedy dies. He never shows you how.
You don't see,
It's at the climax of this large gang war and all these emotions and all these feelings, and he kind of takes himself on a suicide run of drinking and driving and drugs, and passes away. Jaime doesn't show you if he crashes or if he's murdered in the back of his car,
or if he takes his own life.
But he does show you how that death affects all of the characters, and he shows it to you in a couple different ways. There's a beautiful page where some of the characters are waking up and are feeling Speedy's presence as a ghost, but he's not there. Or a couple of characters are flashing back to when they were younger at a wedding and things were okay and there was the hope in their eyes, and they know Speedy's kind of watching that too. You said the omniscient narrator, and I think that's the real power of it, because you feel not so much that Jaime's interest waxes and wanes, but it's what's bubbling.
It's what takes him. It's what stories need to be told at that time.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily linear, but it's giving you every piece of this world as you need it.
Yeah. There's nothing like it. He was really inspired by sort of the background sort of vaudevillian aspects of Archie comics. And this to me feels like, what if there was a couple towns outside of Riverdale? What if they grew up a little bit? What if there's a little bit more problems in that town? Sure, there's dinosaurs. Sure, there's monsters. There's rockets in this love. But Jaime grows it up. It's nothing like it.
Do you have a specific story that is, when you think of this, that's the one?
It's the shot at. It's Speedy. It's the death of Speedy.
The death of Speedy. Yeah.
It's the wedding. It's
Oh, right when it cuts to.
Yeah. It jumps.
So let's show just a good look at the artwork here, because we haven't really shown. It's entirely black and white.
Is a master of a style pioneered by a couple of classic comics artists. I'd say the biggest one, his forerunner, is this guy Alex Toth. And the way that they work is They only draw what's necessary. So there's a lot of black and white there. Well, it's all black and white.
a lot of it, actually.
A lot of implication is what I'd say. I was showing one of my pals, Garrett, how he was able to sell a music guitar shop with only really drawing like 1.5 guitars and 2 speakers and nothing else, and it totally looks like a guitar shop. It's all suggestion. He is really captured by faces and expressions. Again, these are comics that breathe comics. So, like we were saying, you'll get the big ooga eyes, that kind of thing. It's all cartoony. He's really good at setting and place. These are places that I feel like I can smell.
Yes, absolutely. I don't know if it's a gas station or a soda shop, but the bathrooms where they have the like big interactions in.
Yeah.
That just like it felt so real. The sort of trap house, I guess. The sort of rundown houses that they're in.
I can smell the cigarettes.
Yeah.
Or then he'll just do these crazy textural things, like when he shows the wrestling match on the TV and he's able to do the cathode raids. This I like look at all the time. Where are we looking right here? Just insane to me. He's able to render like the graininess fuzz of a TV.
And then, so everything, I felt very EC Comics, very Darwin Cook while I was watching this. Like you were saying, only give exactly what's needed.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are moments when it becomes more abstract, and it's not just a beautiful face or an ugly face, but like the face they're designed for. But there's moments like the devil. When she sees the devil at the end in Flies on the Ceiling.
Yes.
He's
in Mexico. Yeah.
There's this character is possibly losing their mind, is possibly haunted by guilt of a divorce and abortion that they were shamed for and kicked out of their home for, move to a new place and meet new people. But there's always there's a woman on the street, an elderly woman living on the street who just says, "I know who you are." And it starts haunting her and she thinks her past is following her. So it presents itself in her seeing like there's an actual face of the devil, but there's also a man at the end of a bridge. She's walking home with groceries. She sees this man that appears normal, but the closer she gets, it becomes like a shadow where he's taller and taller until she's looking up at his legs extending into the heavens, and then he's just gone. And it's we the reader don't know if this is a supernatural occurrence or if the character is losing her grip with reality because of the guilt and pain she's been forced into feeling from society and from her family. But then you get this moment of, is it in this one near the end?
I may turn up his flies on your ceiling.
Yes, but there's a face. There's like a that is so starkly different than every other image in the book that it like I could hear the stinger. I could hear when it's in a movie and it's just strings going. Ying!
Yeah, right.
When this face here, I don't know if you can see it well here, so you might just have to pick up the book. Oh darn! But yeah, the art is so consistent, but grows, and you can see as the characters and the stories are maturing, the artwork kind of follows suit in subtle ways. But it's stunning. It's visually gorgeous, and the stories that are being told. It's almost biblical because you see all these different stories centered around these new people.
Genealogies.
Exactly. And you get the story from other people's perspectives and you feel this whole world. You feel 5 generations of families and stories in these towns.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. I think for me, as far as favorite, the most enjoyable as I was reading through it the first time, I really loved it's a time. It's like 9:01 a.m. or something is the name of it. But the whole premise is it's just Maggie and her friends, a day in the life. It's just a slice of life, and you see every couple of pages it'll jump to like 10:15 a.m., 12 p.m., and it just shows what their day is like. And it's nothing outrageous, nothing crazy happens. I think primarily it's about kids trying to hunt down their record.
Yeah.
Like a friend.
Yeah.
It starts with them just in their room hanging out.
Some records.
And someone's like, hey, play the 3rd album on the B side of this record. It's the only good song they have on the record. It's like, oh, I lent it to my sister. Oh, let's go to your sister's house. Sister lent it to somebody. Let's go to their house. They lent it to somebody. Oh, that was yours. They borrowed it. And at the end, one of the friends had the album, but he wasn't paying attention when they said the name of it. He's just been following along with them, and he goes, "Wait, what are you guys looking for? Oh yeah, they lent that to me a week ago, and it was all for nothing." But it shows you this world, it shows you these relationships, and it feels, as somebody who grew
You're
up
in
in
the
a
back
small
seat with
town,
them.
exactly. I grew up in a small town with 2 older brothers, so I was tagging along. I was just sort of along for the ride. And back then, that was what you did. You just went around places hoping there was something to do.
Defined by circumstance.
Exactly. And that's kind of the whole story of these people. You see Maggie when she goes on, when she ends up homeless,
Yes.
and Bob's, or she gets evicted.
Yes.
She's living with 3 of her friends. They all get evicted. One of them gets to live here. One of them gets to live somewhere else, but one of them doesn't. So they're living in their car until they get picked up by their aunt or this or that. But you really see fate affecting these lives because these people don't have control over a lot of it.
Real. I can't tell you how many friends I am not in contact with anymore because of raising rent.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And you parted ways and you just didn't touch back because life happened.
Life happened. And I feel like in the midst of all this sadness, and I don't want to define it as a sad book, it's mostly love.
It's such a real book, and because it's real, there is sadness with that love.
Yeah.
Also, real quick, hi Allison. Also, hey everyone who's joining us. If you guys have any questions or comments on Love and Rockets, Girl from Hoppers, throw them in the comments. This is not a one-way thing. We're more than happy to join in with you. Thank you guys for tuning in and watching. Also, hey, Vault of Midnight. I'm not sure who that is, but we appreciate you saying we look good. But we knew that already. Sorry. We can't really watch the Instagram because it's like 30 seconds behind. Sorry. Yes. So
I don't know. Yeah, it's just characters defined by proximity too.
Mhm.
You have H.O.P.P.E.R.Sl going on tour. Maggie and H.O.P.P.E.R.Sl, I guess we should define their relationship.
Yeah.
They're
Or the
best
characters at
friends,
all.
kind of in love always.
Yeah.
But that is relaxed. That comes into play sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes Ray is in love with Maggie and has her affection. Sometimes he doesn't.
Sometimes Maggie is in love with both Ray and
H.O.P.P.E.R.Sl.
and what's his name, and
Tex.
Speedy,
And
right?
then
And
it's
Tex.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's, I think, the most real part about the love in this story is that it, not to say it's conditional, but it is living, it's breathing, it changes and grows and waxes and wanes. And when H.O.P.P.E.R.Sl does go on tour, Maggie doesn't have her anymore, and that's all she can think about is. But then H.O.P.P.E.R.Sl on tour, every time she enters a room, someone goes, "Did you call her?
Yeah.
Did you call her?" Because you know she's dying right now without you. It's like everyone knows that they're meant to be together, including them, but they both want to live their lives. Even the book does.
The book has to exist, but if they were together, there's no book, and the book knows that.
Yeah. So it gives them circumstances and life to live. And they eventually do find each other again?
A couple times.
Yeah.
Every time
sort
it's
of
awesome.
touch back. Yeah.
Every time there's it's outside of this book and it's near the end, but at the end of the first long run, there's a scene where Maggie and H.O.P.P.E.R.Sl are finally reunited in the back of a cop car, and they kind of get this like fairy tale ending together as they're driving off into the sunlight.
But in the back of a cop car.
In the back of a cop car, and it's
which is perfect for them. That is perfect.
And I'm talking about this, and I don't know, my heart's fluttering. It's like
right?
It's like I'm there too. I care about these guys. And it's so odd because they're just cartoon characters.
Yeah. Non-primary characters, favorite moments. I think for me, the thing I read probably 5 times over is Ray. Just 4 panels. Ray having his art freak out.
Yeah.
Ray has always loved Maggie, but has never been able to tell her. Much like Speedy, much like Hope, much like it's sort of unrequited love on both ends because nobody's ever brave enough to tell each other how they feel. But Ray is painting Maggie, or he's an artist, and he is drawing Maggie, and Maggie's, goofing around, doing like funny poses, funny faces, and he's like, pick a good one because you're gonna have to sit here for 16 hours. She goes, whoa, never mind. I don't want to do that. I changed my mind. Why don't you paint, what's her name? One of her friends. Why don't you paint her instead?
Either Izzy or Penny.
Is it Izzy?
I can't remember.
Either way, why don't you paint her? And you can see like in very limited art style, you can see the light drain out of his face, and you go, yeah, okay. And then you get his internal monologue, and he says something like, well, I've always wanted to paint her anyway, so this is a good opportunity. I would love to do Maggie, though, especially in this and that. And then he's just doing a figure painting, and you get to read his thoughts, and it starts with like, oh man, this is why I don't think a drawing. Oh no, he says I would love to do like a full body art picture of Maggie, but I would probably get slapped just for offering that. And then he has this really sweet and beautiful artist thought where he says, no, I'm not good enough to capture that beauty. I would never be able to capture her body and her essence to do it justice. And then he goes, I don't even think a camera could do that. Which is beautiful, but then he takes it further and starts talking more about art, and he goes, "It's all bullshit, you know. I don't think a camera could do that. I don't think anyone could. That's why I do the art I do. It's not good. It's not fine. It's what I do, and I'm not good at it, and I'm bad at it, and it's terrible, and I hate it." And you just see him like losing his mind, and that's such a like real, true. That feels like that's Jaime self-insert. That's him putting himself in drawing the book he's actively drawing and second guessing himself and hating what he's doing. And it was just those 5 panels are the most in-depth and intimate look you get at Ray, and it's him hating himself for doing what he loves and hating what he loves, even though you hear earlier in the book that he's one of the only people, I think he's the only person in this entire book that is going to college, and it's because he got an art scholarship. So he has validation. He knows he's good, but he doesn't. I don't know. I thought that was really fun, and just another great example of making these side characters so real.
For me, a part of that too is it's the music. So
yeah. Oh yeah, you were talking about this.
A couple of characters will be standing around. They'll be listening to a record, and Jaime will do like a little swoopy swoop, and it'll be the song, and you'll hear it. So in this one, they're listening to what's the replacement song? You were a pill, I took a handful at my will.
Oh yeah.
Valentine, and then it'll jump to H.O.P.P.E.R.Sl with her band, and they just have these just action hero poses of them just playing, and it's that stuff to me. It's the
there's so much movement and sound in that one still black and white image,
and they're where they're meant to be in comparison to when H.O.P.P.E.R.Sl isn't on tour with the band or playing with them. They're just so themselves. You know, if you're really hardcore, you'd have thrown a full bottle on stage.
That's one of my favorite moments for the band to show this punk scene that they have.
Yeah.
They finally get a last second gig, and they're like, hey, it's a speed metal band. I'm like, okay, we can make fun of their fans. It doesn't matter. A gig's a gig. We need the money. And then you don't see the gig. It just cuts to H.O.P.P.E.R.Sl saying, if you were really punk, you'd throw a full bottle. And it's just, she doesn't care because, like you said, she's doing it. She's doing what she's meant to do. She's where she belongs.
It's the action hero poses.
And the wrestling too.
Yeah. And there's such love, there's such goofiness. You know, you're talking about how Izzy sees this disturbing, terrifying devil face of guilt. And yet also there's a character in the book that just has devil horns. It's like kind of okay.
And that's just nobody ever really makes it weird.
Yeah.
He just has like alien like bone antenna things.
Yeah. Yeah. Or Penny Sentry is a superhero, kind of.
Yeah.
Like whatever that means in this world, she is a superhero and exists as such. It's characters defined
Love and
by
Rockets for those just tuning in. Girl from Hoppers.
Yeah.
Amazing collection of stories about an incredible group of people.
It's just, these are, they'll become your friends, I hope.
Yeah. Or you'll hate them, or you'll despise them.
Yeah.
Sorry if I cut you off, just that.
No. Not at all.
Yeah, but no, this...
I don't know. Should we take questions?
If anybody, if you guys have any questions about the book or about interpretations or any other thoughts you had on it, feel free. Otherwise, we're just going to keep talking about our favorite things for a little bit and then call it, because it's an amazing story. Lil Ray was so fun.
Yeah.
So we're talking about all these, there's a woman who is running from her sordid past and is coping with guilt, and people who are dying on their beds after fulfilling a life prophecy. We've got this. And then there's one that is just a fun little slice of life done in the style of like Charles Schulz.
Yeah.
Done in like
Peanuts.
a little peanut style.
Yeah.
And it's just like some of these characters, but when they were younger, and it's a great way to do a flashback that is entertaining, and it doesn't feel like you're wasting your time going, okay, it's a flashback, just show me what you need. It's just like Ray and the other guys interacting, and I felt like I was there when his brother turned to him and said, "That's my sweater. Mom said I could wear it.
Yeah.
We'll take it off now."
Mom
And then they
said
start
it's my
fighting, and I
turn
was like,
on the
"Oh my god,
Xbox." Yeah.
I'm there."
Yeah.
You can tell Jaime is a brother. He
Yes.
has
He's
these
little
real
bro- he's
relationships.
the little brother. Even.
Exactly.
He's the little brother.
So that's why you get the stories where a character is just tagging along and it's
Yeah.
there happening, or you get the little brother.
He's an
No,
observer.
it's my exactly. So that spoke to me as the youngest of three, which, as you're saying,
Gosh,
it
I
seems
did
like
not have
Jaime is
that.
as well.
I did not have that perspective. It's wonderful. Yeah. No, that's got to be. It's so informed by it.
And now that you mention, or a few minutes, like 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago, you mentioned that the concept of the book knowing the fate of some of these characters over the author knowing, which I think really feels right for Love and Rockets because it does have a living feeling to it. But specifically, the moments of, because I talked earlier about how I'm always looking out for clunky exposition.
Yes.
I love ham-fisted. I showed you that panel of Green Lantern. There's a Silver Age panel of Green Lantern where it's the first panel of the issue and it's a thought bubble and it's Hal thinking, "Oh boy, I can't wait to get to Uncle Jim's 63rd birthday where all of my family, including Carol, John, Jim, and Joe, will all be there to celebrate together. I better go pick up my date quickly, and I hope she doesn't know I'm the Green Lantern." And it's just one thought.
Or they'll be doing that as they're jumping down from a building.
Yeah.
And speaking, you know.
So I'm always looking out for that. I'm also looking out for some really clunky Deus Ex Machinas.
Yes.
This story had probably one of the biggest I'm going to write in a solution for these characters. And it's the superheroine. Maggie is currently unhoused with Texas.
Mhm.
Does Texas have another name, a real name?
Just Texas.
With Texas, another character that you are introduced to along the journey that just becomes part of the main narrative and you accept instantly as part of the family. So you are just with Texas.
The whole book is like that party scene in the Scott Pilgrim movie.
Yes, absolutely.
You
Yeah,
know,
that's
their
so
first
accurate.
album is better than their first album.
Yeah. And so they're on their last chance. They just got kicked out of another house. They are on their last. They have their last little bit of money, and there's nowhere to go, and it's turning to winter. And Maggie looks up at a billboard for some rich guy and goes, "Oh, hang on, we're good." And then it cuts to them on the bus, and Texas goes, "That was the last of our money on these bus tickets. I hope." She goes, "Don't worry, it's all smooth sailing from here." And that's the first time you find out that that's her sister, right?
Yeah.
That her sister married the richest man in the world, and she's just living there. So she goes up to the security gate and she's like, "Oh, just tell him we're here. Don't worry about it." And they get let in, and now they can stay at this mansion.
It makes me think
A problem is presented. Maggie goes, "Oh man. Oh wait, something happened off screen.
I'm a
It's
cartoon
perfect
character."
for this. Exactly.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel forced. It feels very like serendipity. And then it
makes me think of like in Super Mario Brothers 3 how everything is like on a stage.
Yes.
It's all down by wires. Even like Mario's trying to defeat Bowser, but the stage knows that good beats evil.
Yeah, exactly.
You might be trying, but the stage knows how this ends.
The world that you're in knows how this story happens.
Yeah, it's wrestling.
Yeah. But it doesn't feel like undeserved. It doesn't feel unearned. It feels like the book loves these characters too and says, "Oh, hang on. I can do that. I can fix this."
Yeah.
It's like the book is the Deadpool of this. It's the fourth wall breaking self-insert of, "Oh, I really wish these, you know what? Let's do that. Let's solve their problems real quick."
Yeah, this is my story. She gets to have wrestling boots.
Yes, exactly.
And have a superhero best friend. It's if there's anything, it's my favorite part about cartooning and cartoonists. It's that it's when they become the work and they completely drive the car.
Yeah.
And with something like Love and Rockets and Jaime's work in particular, I'm just lucky to be in the back seat.
Mm-hmm. It feels so true. And I don't know where he grew up or what his upbringing is, but it feels like he was at these barbecues. It feels like he was here in these nights with these friends. It's stunning. If you had to get an elevator pitch for Love and Rockets, what would it be? Somebody says, "What's Love and Rockets? What's specifically Girl from Hoppers?"
Get in, loser. We're going towards great comics.
That's pretty accurate because there isn't a lot of description you can give for this. It's a wacky slice of life about wrestling and punk bands and
Yeah.
life and love and
Yeah,
hatred.
it's the like we said, it's the party scene from Scott Pilgrim,
Yeah.
but it's the whole book. It's you know the days of our lives.
Yeah, it is a soap opera. It very
Yeah.
much is. But all of the connections, all of the relationships feel earned because you know these people and you feel for them. I got a little confused by all the men seeking Maggie
Yeah,
because they, by the fourth one, I'm like, hang on, which one were you?
yeah.
Are you the artist? Are you
Faces blend.
the yeah?
I don't know. It's like Josie and the Pussycats, like
Mhm.
R-rated.
Yeah.
It's a billion different things, but it's all its own, and it's only one half of the formula too.
And yet the cover here is a very good. It's 3 entirely different scenes that could not be more apart that are telling the same story. You've got the sisters, the familial relationships. You've got the band,
Wrestling.
and then wrestling, and then just that conflict exists, and some people seek it out and perpetuate it as their coping mechanism, and that presents itself in so many different ways. Man, yeah, I think that's it. I think we'll call it here. Yeah, we've been gushing about Girl from Hoppers for 40 minutes now. If you haven't checked it out, you've got a couple days, I think, to pick it up for 15% off. Next Thursday. So check it out on the web store, vaultofmidnight.shop. Check it out in any of your locations. Other big cool news coming up. Check out the grand opening of our new Detroit location. Twice the size, twice the fun. There's going to be a great big event happening there. That's on October 1st, 2nd. October 2nd.
Saturday.
It's October 2nd, the October 1st Saturday, whatever that one is. But Love and Rockets, Girl from Hoppers. If you want a good, amazing story that doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't require anything from you. You don't need to give it anything other than your attention.
Patience.
Yeah.
It takes a while to get started. I think
when you had first talked to me about reading this, you described it as a slow burn.
Yeah.
I took that as a negative at first, but once I finished it, I realized it wasn't slow because it's clunky or it's tough to get through. It's slow because I want to spend time in each of these stories. So when one ends, I'm like, hang on, let me see what was all of that. And you're just living in all of this. And so I took my time on every page going through this, and it felt like I was living this life. Sorry, we're going off again. This is an amazing book. It's Jaime
They'll become
Hernandez.
your best friends.
Yeah. Anything else by Jaime that you would recommend?
If you're gonna do, I would recommend trying his brother's stuff out too. His brother does stories that are a little bit similar in their scope, a little bit more fantastical, maybe a little bit more cruder in terms of content. There's a little bit more sex and death, but his first one is
Love and Rockets.
Yeah, his one is called Heartbreak Soup, and it takes place in the town of Palomar, and it's completely recommend it. It's 10 out of 10.
Well, thanks, guys. That's gonna do it for us. We're gonna call it now. Thank you all for swinging by. Thank you all for watching this after the fact. Listen to us just kind of gush about this amazing book that some of us read longer ago than others. But thank you guys. That's it. We're gonna call it. This is Caleb signing off.
This is Justin. Bye.